Creative mode is one of the best assets to hone your skills, in between all the great edit and aim maps available, and even zone wars, which takes a turn at replicating endgame, or even builds you can practice alone, such as high ground retakes, tunneling, and some of the more realistic builds that you'll be using in game. And if you already have a ton of retakes or other builds you've mastered, maybe you're not sure exactly how to implement them into your gameplay. When I first started to practice new builds, it was right when Playground mode was released, and I knew a bunch to try and learn, such as 90s, and I would always warm up with them every day and would spend time trying to perfect them. But when I first learned them, I had no clue how to even use them in game, as I never saw anyone use them outside of scrims or Playground mode. And to be fair, this was before people really put cones on top of their boxes, unless they were also in a scrim. But overall, I was just uncertain how they fit into my builds. Of course, looking back, I overlooked how important 90s are and how versatile they can be in so many situations. But don't worry, we'll be going into more depth than just talking about 90s in today's video. I do just want to quickly ask you guys, if you do enjoy these videos or my content, to leave a like and subscribe, as it helps me create more content for you guys. If you want to support me even further, you can always use code Selage in the item shop. Other than that, let's hop right into the video. Now before we hop into today's video, I want to talk about G Subs real quick. The healthiest and best tasting drink available. There's a wide variety of flavors such as green apple, OP orange, and dragon fruit punch. Don't forget to use code Selage for 10% off your order. One of the coolest parts of Fortnite is the innovation of builds within it. Every week there's a new high ground retake and new tricks to outplay your opponents, but the usefulness of them may not always be apparent, and others, maybe they don't really fit into a real game situation, either being too unsupported and fragile, or possibly too time consuming or complicated that it won't work in many situations in game because of too many variables such as third partying and such. But that doesn't make these innovations useless, but sifting through certain techniques and identifying which of them are going to fit your playstyle is important, and also making sure that you pick something practical to what game mode you're playing. One of the most effective ways to learn and understand how to use certain builds is by 1v1ing. This way, you're in a more controlled and relaxed situation where you're typically just 1v1ing your friend for fun. As well, losing a 1v1 is not nearly as time consuming as a real game. You just simply respawn and you're back at it in comparison to farming and looting for 20 minutes. Being able to test and practice certain techniques against real players will help you determine if a retake is going to be effective, in both terms of overall and as well against specific scenarios. This way, you can find the strengths and weaknesses of certain builds in very specific situations, and being able to test it multiple times in a rapid succession is something you can't do anywhere else. But what's important is that you should try to gain something out of your 1v1. If you're testing a new retake or any type of build, make sure to figure out some of the best ways to use it effectively. But other than learning a new build, 1v1s are the best way to practice engagements and are a helpful way to get you less nervous when you're fighting in game. This is because you get to practice a lot in a ton of different engagements quite quickly, and if you're fighting someone who's just as good or better than you, it can be fun and challenging to try and beat them. But fighting someone allows you to see how they approach certain situations and their favorite tricks. For example, Exile, who you see in a good amount of my videos, always does side jumps, so as soon as I see him place a cone, I know more than likely he's going to be doing a side jump, which I can easily counter with a floor. But he has since learned to now place a cone before I can to make sure I can't edit down on him. This can be good though. If you're constantly fighting the same person, you have to learn new tricks to make sure you're not going to be getting countered on every single move you make, which will push you to learn more tricks and utilize them correctly. But I also recommend trying to fight as many different people as possible, because the more people you fight, the more you'll learn and pick up on the little things other players do that you may have not heard about or thought about before. These players will test how good you actually are. They're going to be throwing things at you that you may have not experienced before, and you may not have any idea on how to counter. This is by far the best practice that I have found for learning what my own weaknesses are, as one player may not be able to counter any moves that you do, but another player may be able to easily expose and capitalize on every single move you do. And them exposing you shows you what angles you may or may not be covering as well as you should, and these all stack onto each other to help you perfect your playstyle. Now, it's not always easy to find a ton of people to 1v1. Luckily, I have a few ways for you guys to find more than enough people. The first is Discords. There's two that I use, Atlantis and the Fortnite Pro League. Both have a creative section where people just type something like 1v1 NAE or 1v1 EU. And you have like 5 people DM you even at 2 in the morning, and you can easily 1v1 anyone at any time of the day. Otherwise, I want to show you guys two maps from my good friend Immature Gamer. I'm sure most of you have seen his most advanced 1v1 map, because it's by far the best one I have played so far. It offers some features like randomizing loadouts and resetting the course I have not seen in any other map before. But the map I want to talk about more is his newest, and I had no clue this was even a thing until he told me about it, and I think it's an ingenious idea. Basically, he had his map set up to be playground friendly, which allows you to queue into a playground match and have a good variety of players to fight. His map features some really neat things that he named anti-troll features to make sure that you can fight as many random people without being griefed. It's really organized and has all the advanced features that you'll need. He really nailed it out of the park, so I recommend you go show some love on both of his videos and his channel, which I'll have linked down below. A big piece to seeing in-game improvements from situations that are not mechanically related are reviewing and looking over your own mistakes, but as well looking over your successes. You don't always have to review your own gameplay though. I've talked about this a little bit before, but simply watching some of your favorite streamers who are pro players that scrim on stream is a great idea to get an idea of how to handle certain situations or how they rotate through zones. This way, you know you're going to be getting specific in-game examples of what they're doing and be able to implement those actions into your own gameplay. But back to looking at your own gameplay. Looking at the losses can help you learn a lot. You'll see exactly what you did wrong in specific situations. Now you can either gather this right after the game is finished, or if possible, hop into replay mode for a few minutes and get a look at the fight from a perspective of your opponent and from your own. This way you can see exactly what you're doing wrong from as many perspectives as possible. After you see what you did wrong, keep a mental note of what exactly to do right. And if you're not sure what the right thing is to do, Googling it or looking it up on YouTube, or if you have somebody you can ask who knows kind of a lot about Fortnite, is probably one of your best bets. As well, make sure you look at what you're doing right. I think this is more important than most players assume, but if you're doing something right, making sure you can replicate it and keep on succeeding in certain aspects can help carry you if you make any mistakes at other times during the game. The most fun mode of practice is certainly Zone Wars. You're going to practice everything you need, such as aim, editing, and building, and more specifically, tunneling, high ground retakes, and my favorite, box fights. These are all crucial skills that you'll need in game, and this is where you get to test these firsthand in a more stressful environment in comparison to 1v1s. But the map I want to share with you guys is one that I covered a couple of videos ago, and it's called Vortex from Zero to Hero. I won't go into much detail about this map, but I do want to tell you a little bit about the main features and why this map should be your go-to. First off, the realisticness of this map is ahead of any other by miles. The map starts with a zone that replicates about the size of the fourth zone of a real game, and from there it moves to half zone and into smaller moving zones. So it's like playing a custom with fourth zone rules, but it lets you skip the wait time. This map also randomizes every single game. Not only the zone, but the spawn is going to change as well. So that means spawning at the bottom of the hill or on the top is going to make you play in two completely different ways, of course, and since the map is built like a real game, there's more to it than just normal builds and retakes. Since the map thankfully doesn't shoot in a straight line, the map has more dynamics to it and makes things such as third partying, disengaging, rotating smartly are things that you actually have to think about and is required to be smart with in this map. And that's what I think makes it the best map currently out. As you can see from the footage, it turns into an endgame that feels like a stacked custom lobby and plays just like it, which is something you really can't get in Arena and rarely get inside of customs. The code for this map is going to be down in the description, as well as a link to Zero's channel. I recommend you go check out my video that I did on this map where Zero actually comes in and talks about the map and shares some great insight. Both of those links will be down in the description, so I recommend going to check them out. Now, I won't talk too much about specific maps I like to train on for both aim and edit courses, but I do want to mention my two favorite courses that I have created, and I think they are some of the best. The first is my infinitely randomized edit course that will automatically reset and randomize every single time you finish the course. This helps with replayability and overall is just a great map for training and or warming up. The second is my aim facility that I released not too long ago. Since its release, I have optimized and taken out a lot of the sections of the map that don't have as much significance in comparison to the other sections. This lowers how taxing it is on your PC or console and should hopefully help with getting more frames. Being a creative warrior is something that people always say is a joke, but I think having that sort of skill is one of the most valuable within Fortnite. Sometimes it can be difficult to translate it, but if you spend enough time practicing and implementing your already insane mechanical skill into the game, you'll see improvements sooner rather than later. However, thank you guys all for watching today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed all of it. If you did, make sure to follow my Twitch and my Twitter down in the description. I stream quite often on Twitch. I tweet about my life and sneak teasers of my maps on Twitter. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more future tips, tricks, and tutorials. If you want some more right away, check out the playlist and videos on screen for some great ways to elevate your game. Other than that, thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.